Ready to think like a rocket scientist.
I like where this is going.
Today we're going deep on Ozan Varol's book, Think Like a Rocket Scientist.
That's a good one.
It's all about bringing a scientific mindset to work and to life and, well, everything, really.
Yeah, and, he makes it work for everybody.
Right.
Not just for, the NASA crowd.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You all know you're all about learning quickly, but also thoroughly.
Yeah, getting to the point.
Yeah, and that's what I love about this book. It's so actionable.
Yeah.
And we're going to unpack it together so you can see how to use it.
Perfect.
Okay, so one of the first things that jumped out at me was this whole idea of embracing uncertainty.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it seems kind of counterintuitive.
Right.
Right? We always want certainty, don't we?
Well, yeah, you want to plan things out. You
our
want
strategies.
and then our plans.
Make sure everything's going to go smoothly.
But he makes this case for uncertainty as the driver
Of innovation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when you get the breakthroughs, right? Totally. And this is interesting because right now, globally, everything is so volatile.
Absolutely.
The markets are crazy.
Unpredictable supply chains.
Supply chains.
It's the world we live in.
So, and I know you work in listeners' field,
Right.
which is constantly evolving.
Every day is a new challenge.
So how can embracing uncertainty in your day-to-day actually help you in your work?
Well, it's like he says in the book, you have to kind of reframe
Yeah,
your thinking about it.
totally.
It's not a roadblock. It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like a new perspective.
Yeah.
And speaking of new perspectives, another thing that was super interesting was this whole idea of first principles thinking,
Well, that's a good one.
which sounds kind of complicated.
It does sound complicated.
But he actually makes
Yeah,
it
down.
easy to understand.
Yeah.
Basically, it's about taking a problem.
Deconstructing it.
Oh, no.
Taking away all the assumptions.
Yeah, all the assumptions. Like a rocket scientist would.
Getting down to the very basics.
The fundamentals.
Yeah. So think about something you've been working on recently that's been a challenge. How could you break it down
Yeah.
to its core elements?
Strip it down.
Yeah. And maybe that will help you find a solution.
A new solution.
Yeah. A new solution.
Yeah.
It's almost like, when you have a recipe
Uh-huh.
and you take it apart
Yeah.
and you understand each ingredient,
Yes.
you can then create something new.
Yeah.
And this actually leads perfectly into his emphasis on experimentation.
Experimentation is key.
It's not just about brainstorming.
No.
It's about getting out there and testing things.
Trying things out.
Yeah, and iterating and refining.
Absolutely.
And it's funny because it's the scientific method,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Think about,
A/B testing.
A/B testing.
Yeah.
And marketing or trying different sourcing strategies.
In procurement. Yeah.
Or anything, really.
Anything, you know. If you're willing to try new things and to experiment,
That's where you discover
the breakthroughs happen.
the new possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's pretty cool.
right.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And, all this experimentation leads to moonshot thinking.
Oh, yeah. Moonshot thinking.
It's not just about little improvements here and there.
Right.
It's what are those crazy goals that we could go for?
Yeah, the big, hairy, audacious goals.
Yeah, exactly.
In your field, what would be a moonshot?
Wow.
What would be something?
When listeners field.
That seems impossible.
Yeah.
But if you could achieve it,
Mm-hmm.
it would be amazing.
Well, I mean, for us, I think a total zero-waste supply chain would be, that would be a moonshot.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
But think about it. The impact.
It would be incredible.
And for marketing, what if you could create a campaign that totally revolutionizes your whole industry?
Your whole industry operates.
Yeah.
That's a moonshot.
Totally.
But the thing is, he gives us a framework
Yeah.
for actually
Breaking it down.
Yeah.
Making it achievable.
you start with that big vision
Mm-hmm.
and you work backward
Exactly. You break it down
and figure out those milestones.
into smaller steps.
Yeah. So thinking about your work in listeners field,
Mm-hmm.
what's your moonshot?
Oh, that's a good question.
What's something that seems impossible,
Yeah.
but you'd love to achieve?
I've never really thought about it like that.
I know. It's a good exercise
Yeah, it is.
because we get so caught up in the day-to-day
Absolutely.
and we forget to think big.
It's so easy to just get lost
I know.
in the weeds.
Another thing I really loved about the book was how he talked about failure.
Oh, yeah.
and how it's not like a bad thing.
Well,
It's actually like a key
it's essential
part of the process.
to learning.
Yeah, and he actually encourages us to like see it as data, valuable data.
So like when something doesn't go as planned, instead of getting discouraged,
Right.
you can analyze it.
Figure out what went wrong.
And use that to make your next attempt
Your next iteration.
better and stronger.
More robust.
It's all about iterating and refining.
Exactly.
Like you were saying before. You know, I remember early in my career, I had this experience
Oh, tell me about it.
where I was putting together this big presentation for a potential client. And I had done so much research. Like I felt so prepared.
You knew your stuff.
But when I actually gave the presentation, it bombed.
Oh, no.
Like it did not go well.
That's tough.
It was so disheartening. But looking back, I realized I had made all these assumptions.
About the client.
About their needs. Yeah. Like I thought I knew.
What they wanted.
But I hadn't actually like confirmed it.
Right.
And I was so focused on showing off all the features.
Your product or service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I didn't really stop to think about their pain points.
What they actually needed.
And how we could solve them.
Right.
So it was a huge lesson.
It's a good lesson to learn, though.
It was.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's exactly what we're talking about.
It is. It's like...
with failure.
You know?
Like if I hadn't had that experience, I wouldn't have learned that.
You wouldn't have known.
You know, and now I'm so much more careful.
To really understand the client.
To really listen.
Yeah.
And to make sure that I'm actually addressing
their
needs, not just like...
showing off your expertise,
exactly.
but actually solving a problem.
And you know what's interesting is that this ties back to the first principles thinking.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Because if I had taken the time to break down the situation...
like strip away those assumptions.
Yeah.
Really get down to the core of it.
I would have realized that I was making those assumptions.
And you could have avoided that.
Yeah, and I could have tailored the presentation
to their specific needs.
So it's all connected.
It is.
It's all about like this mindset shift.
Totally.
And this is what I love about this rocket scientist way of thinking.
Yeah.
It's about being curious and being willing to experiment.
Try new things.
And to learn from our mistakes.
Absolutely.
And to realize that sometimes those mistakes are actually like the biggest breakthroughs.
They are. They can lead to the biggest breakthroughs.
Yeah.
It's about seeing those challenges as opportunities for growth.
It's funny because, you know, we're talking about rocket science.
Right.
That this stuff is actually like really relatable.
It is,
you know,
to everyone.
Whether you're, you know, running a company or leading a team or just, you know,
living your life.
Yeah, just trying to figure things out.
Absolutely.
This mindset can really
make a difference.
Yeah, it's powerful.
It's about being a better thinker, a better problem solver.
And more innovative.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Think Like a Rocket Scientist, let's just recap some of the key things we talked about.
Sounds good.
So embracing uncertainty.
Yes.
First principles thinking.
Breaking it down.
Experimentation.
Moonshot thinking.
Aiming high. And then, of course, failure.
As a learning tool.
Exactly. It's like a whole toolkit.
It is.
For approaching any challenge.
Any challenge.
You know, and it's really about shifting our perspective to be more, you know...
open to new possibilities.
Yeah, open to new possibilities and more resilient.
Yes.
And ultimately more successful.
Absolutely.
Now, before we go, I want to leave you with one question that really got me thinking.
I'm ready.
What's one assumption you're making right now in your work that you could challenge with first principles thinking?
That's a good one.
Right.
Yeah.
So think about, you know, your industry. Your role, maybe a specific project you're working on. It could be anything. Yeah, and ask yourself, like...
what am I assuming?
What am I assuming that maybe...
isn't true.
Isn't true or could be done differently.
Because those assumptions, they could really hold us back.
We can, from real innovation.
Yeah.
So I encourage you to take some time this week, really reflect on that question.
Yeah.
Challenge those assumptions.
And who knows?
You might surprise yourself.
You might just discover your own moonshot.
Exactly. And with that, I think we're good to go.
I think so.
I hope you enjoyed this deep dive.
Me too.
And we'll see you next time.
See you then.